I'd like to call the September the 13th, 2021 City Council Workshop for the City of Lake City to order. Ms. Sykes, do you call the roll, please?
Mr. Hill. Mr. Jefferson.
Here.
Mr. Sampson.
Here.
Mayor Witt.
Here.
Ms. Fields. Here. Mr. Coberline.
Here.
Chief Gilmore. Here.
Okay, at this time, we have, item of public comment. Anybody, I don't have anybody signed up, but does anybody want to make a public comment at this time? Okay, if there's no public comments, we'll move into City Hall discussion. Does somebody,
No, I'm gonna talk about, I don't know whether you got, into the discussion, I want to talk about the, whether they already discussed. You want to make comment?
whenever you want to,
I was gonna wait until Mr. Gilmore. I got it. Yeah. General Bowden, 1156 Northeast Baskin Drive. Mr. Mayor, I want to talk about the handicap accessibility. Be sure that's addressed properly. I look at the layout, if you don't mind going to the site plan for the bank historic building.
you're talking about the historic building that's,
We're gonna be City Hall, exactly.
right.
The next one, next.
Back to the council chambers? The council chambers?
Yeah.
Okay.
Ms. Mayor, I was just, as you well know, my wife was wheelchair like 57 last year, wheelchair. So I got very concerned about wheelchair, not just handicap, but wheelchair. So when looking at the plan, I just want to be sure that as you go forward, that there's some space allowed, not just to get inside the hall and meeting room, but there'll be a place where wheelchairs can go, if you get following my point.
Right.
Not just roll in and be in the hallway, but have a space in there at the back of the wheelchair can go. Because otherwise, it just won't work, you know.
And the bathrooms need to be accessible too.
Yeah, that too, but I'm real concerned about a person in a wheelchair coming to a meeting and not have a space designated for wheelchair.
Let me,
And the other thing on that is the doors, is the entrance straight to the street, that's allowed before you get into it. That door open to the street? Yes. Oh, 36 inches. So you walk straight into the, across the street into the chamber? Yes. I don't think that's good. I think it should be some, should be a boundary. You shouldn't be able to walk up the street right into the chamber hall. I don't think it's safe, you know, you got to build a wall, make it a little bit smaller, but be able to walk across the street into a city council meeting, I don't think that's safe. And I would object to that.
okay.
Mr. Ball, I'll agree with you on that simply because there's some type of a barrier between some type of foyer or what, between the council and the outside. It's gonna be noisy. That would help some with some like, I guess, what you call a foyer or whatever. So can you look at that, Mr. David?
Yes, sir.
That's all I have. Thank you.
Okay. Anybody else have any comment? Okay, before we get into the injury, I don't know if the council did, one of my, I see what we're headed for, and I think the design for what we have resources for is good for, pretty much the office part of it and the, customer service. My concern is also the, council chambers, and I think the capacity in this is almost the same as this room. And we've had issues pretty regular, not every meeting, but, you know, with capacity. And that's a concern, and it's an old building that, I don't know, I just don't wanna do a patchwork and then have, a few years later, have to come back and do something different, just like with this building. Of course, we've had 13, 14 years out of this one. But that's my concern too, is the amount of capacity and those things. Anybody else want to make a comment before we get into this?
I had some of those same concerns, Mayor, with the capacity of the new city hall, if you will, in comparison to the capacity of the existing one here. I think it's pretty much the same, but that concerns me to the extent that I would like to see it a little more capacity as opposed to our existing capacity now, because we, as you can see, we can easily fill this building to capacity. But if we're gonna plan, if at all possible, I'd like to see us plan for at least more capacity.
Okay, anybody else want to make a comment before we get?
Is he gonna do a presentation?
I don't really know. Okay. We'll just go ahead.
I'll wait till he does. the
Okay, go ahead.
presentation. I mean,
All right, well, I wasn't showing my sketches because I'm not an artist. But the ones I sent you today, could you put those up? These are how my calculations and everything for all of the seating at the city hall and my measurements and everything for the other buildings, how I arrived at them.
You have a clicker.
Oh, sorry about that.
Turn it on.
Yeah,
there
there it
it
is.
is.
Okay, yeah, okay. This is, before we had COVID, we had 63 seats in here. This is 160, it's 63 on each side. So we have 126 that's able to get in there in the audience. So we've doubled from what we had before up here on seating. The diocese here is the same size as the diocese you're sitting at. And what I drew in was IT, their table would be over in here. This is, I call it the IT safe. It's a safe. And Millennium Bank had actually used it for their IT, all of their equipment's in there, racks. This is the old safe right behind the diocese that can be used for storage. We have to add one new restroom down here to, because we have to have a men and a women's. The existing restroom is accessible now, and this would also be an accessible restroom. The sergeant at arms table would be placed over in this portion here, at the bottom down here. We would have a drop-down screen somewhere in this area that would come down with an overhead projector here to shine on it for everybody to see the presentation. We are looking at trying to get a monitor for each of the council chamber members, the city manager, the city clerk, and the attorney, to where they would be looking at the same thing that's up on the screen at the same time.
I wouldn't have to turn around.
Yeah, you don't have to turn around. Your monitor would be in front of you.
The screen would be like it is over at the auditorium over here.
Yes, it'd be behind you.
Right.
Okay, with that, these would all be loose seats, so we can designate a handicap wheelchair space or a handicap space at any place in there, and a companion, which is what's required. There would be no issue with doing it. Both of these doors, the side door and the main door coming on to Marion, both of them are fully accessible. The ramp is coming up from this side of the building onto the front porch. Because we really don't want to do anything onto that front porch, because that has the old tile work that says Columbia Bank on it. And historically, you don't want to mess with that. The ceilings are 20 foot tall in there. So we've got plenty of room. We have an upstairs over this area here that could become storage. We have enough room in this office and this office. We could actually put 5 desks in there for the city council to have a desk if they want. I think that's about it on that, on my old drawings. But this is how I arrived at my calculations down here. These are all the numbers that I have. There's 2.3 square feet per chair is what's required by code. So what I'm looking at is when I develop my square footage there, leaving a 4 to 6 foot aisle in between for access and having no more than 7 chairs across. If we go more than 7 chairs, then we have to have an aisle on the side. So going no more than 7 chairs across, then we can place our rows in and I can get 63 seats on each end.
And in this room right now, we're right at 120-ish.
Well, 120 was what our last council meeting was. I think that's the first time I've ever been here that we had that many. So I was just going by the seating, the normal seating that we had in the council chamber, COVID, which was 63.
Mr. Mayor. So the square footage of this area here, I know you probably got the number on there, but how does that relate to the size of this room? It's bigger than this room, obviously.
Yes, it's a lot bigger.
So you're only limiting the number of seats based on not wanting to put another walkway down the outside
Down
edges.
the outside.
So if you did the walkway on the edges, how many more seats could you get in there?
Well, I can go 8 and more, but it depends on, I would have to, we would lose space for the aisle. We could actually get, I believe it was 10 seats across, still have our means of egress down the center and then down either side. And I could go 10 across instead of 7. So you'd be gaining 3 seats per row. You're looking roughly about another 60 people.
And that put you right around 200 total, which is a pretty large capacity compared to what we have now. One comment earlier about the door and coming straight in. Hearing how the road noise is here, that could be an issue. Could there be like a screen there, or would that?
Yes, sir. We could put a screen here, but I'm going to cut down on the square footage because I'll have to have a way around either side of the screen, the same width as my aisle here.
Are there any beams in the middle of any of this space, or is it all open?
It's all open.
So you could reconfigure the seats for whatever the use is?
Yeah.
What are you actually building here? Because since that's open now, what improvements need to be built? Can we use the current flooring, just that bathroom in the bottom?
The carpeting in there needs to be replaced. I think it's the original carpeting for the old Columbia Bank. For the looks of it. The diocese, either we take this one apart and move there, or we build a new one, whichever. The new restroom would have to be built here. But that's really everything we need to do besides some cosmetic work on the exterior. And the ceiling in this area needs to be painted. It's a 10 square tile that's up there, the old tin ceiling. And it needs to be wiped down with vinegar and then painted. Because whoever did the last paint job on it didn't wipe it down with vinegar or a mild acid. Then the paint doesn't stick. It's all here. And it's not lead paint, because that's the liquid.
Now, you have any cost estimates for any of these repairs yet?
No, sir, not yet. This is what I was working on, trying to get permission to see if this is the way we're heading. If it is, then I'll start getting cost estimates.
So the basic seating, the 126, that's double what this room normally has had in the past.
Yes.
That's quite a bit larger. Sometimes it's hard to tell in these little pictures with these little numbers.
Yeah.
Magnifying glasses.
If you want to go to the new one, or the,
I noticed on that
better drawing, because like I said, I'm almost embarrassed. Because those are my sketches.
oh, you look like a regular artist.
Okay, let's go to the historic bank. I know, I got the clicker. Whoops. Wrong one. All right. This would be Marion Street out here in the main entry coming in. This would be the seating areas that I'm talking about. We could actually move them a little closer if we had to. Which would give us some room back here to put a foyer type screen for people coming in. And maybe even a table in front of it to where they could pick up their agendas. But everything else would be the same. This was drawn by an architect, so he draws a lot straighter than I do. I went to do CAD. It's been many years since I've used CAD. I couldn't figure out how to use it.
Mr. Mayor, I think one of the concerns I have is the bathrooms being behind the dais. I mean, behind the dais. So for security purpose, once they go back there, then you don't know what's going on. So
Well, your security, your.
I see you got them over there.
Would be sitting in this area. So if anybody's going to the bathroom, they're gonna be going in front of them, and they're gonna have to come back out. We can block off this area here, like with swing gates, to keep people from just walking back there.
I think it could work. I'm just not sure. But I mean, the real question is what's the cost?
Yeah.
And so I think, I mean, I'd like to see some of these items put with the cost. I mean, you could cost it with the screen, without a screen,
The high dollar is going to be
the bathroom.
the bathroom,
Yeah.
adding the one bathroom. I think you're looking close to 50 to 60,000.
Now, why do we have to have two bathrooms? Is that a rule?
It's because of the occupancy, how many occupants
Okay.
you have. Once you reach over a certain number, I have to have separate units.
What's the break number?
I believe it's 10.
Okay.
I know I'm only showing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 chairs there, but there's same size diocese, so it's gonna be the same number of chairs.
And this drawing is not quite the scale with the diocese, or is it?
No, not really.
Well, I think the save on the cost would move this dais to that building.
I don't know how to put it together, so.
I mean, if it's
Say
possible,
that we
yeah,
could move it,
if possible.
yeah, we get somebody to look at it.
I think any cost savings things, I mean, have we looked to see what's underneath that carpet?
No, I have not. It could be a nice looking wood floor underneath there. It needs to be refinished.
I can't remember.
I don't think it's concrete with the age of this building. Unless somebody poured it later.
I mean, I think until we get a cost analysis, we can't really tell if that even makes sense.
Right.
Because if the cost is too high, nothing says we can't go back in the absence of this building, a meeting at the school board. I mean, that would be a much cheaper option.
Till we can do something permanent. I thought about that too. When was this building built?
1912.
1901 or 19.
Do we know anything about the condition of the roof?
The roof would have to be investigated. I did not see any signs of leaking anywhere in there, climbing up into the overhead spaces. But that's not saying it doesn't need replaced. I have not had it evaluated yet.
That would definitely be part of this analysis.
Yep. And that's why before I went any further with everything, I wanted to make sure that we were heading in the right direction so I could tell the architect, this is what we need you to do and get this information for us.
When the city was in the process of purchasing that building, I toured it and there is no asbestos and the guy that gave me the tour, he assured me that the paint was not lead paint. So there's no asbestos in it.
That's my understanding. I don't think that building had an analysis done. If there is any, it would be upstairs, and that could easily be encapsulated.
Okay.
And cheaply encapsulated, a layer of
Okay. Anything else on this building?
One more thing.
On the process, can I ask a question?
Yeah.
I'm a little concerned, as a taxpayer, that if we purchase a building, and we're doing, that's the kind of question that's coming up now. It just seems to me, if we bought a building, and there's a possibility that we won't use it, there's a possibility there's a possibility that it may not be adequate for you. I guess my question is, how do you buy it without having what's the damn, who will make it first? I don't understand. I don't see it.
Well, I think, to me, the land and the other bank building was the big draw on that. The other bank building is ready to be used, and it gives us enough property down there to do what we need to do. That was kind of where I was at on it. I don't know where everybody was. And this is something that, if we can use it, it is, but I don't think it was a deal breaker for me to buy the property, just be able to make this city council chambers.
So how much did we pay for the whole building, the whole bank?
It was $1 million for the whole thing, wasn't it?
It was
I believe so, it was a package deal, so
It wasn't for this building, it was for the land and 2 buildings.
Okay, well, I still maintain my concerns about me. I've been to Lao City Hall and the last city council meeting. And I don't call going anywhere where you can walk off the street that quickly into the meeting. Nowhere that I've been.
Mr. Bowden, that was gonna be my next question to Mr. Young. You saying that, which I guess you would have to go to architecture. How much could you move the seating forward?
I could probably move the seating forward another, 5 feet or so. 5 to 8 feet.
And with that moving forward, would that give you enough room to put that?
Yes.
Okay.
I have a question.
Will we have to give up any seating capacity if you move it
I
5
do
feet?
not think so. I think that moving it forward is just, I was allowing a little more distance between up here than, what I actually really needed, just in case we needed extra seating space. So we could still move this forward, move the, speaker podium forward and move these forward another 5 to 8 feet.
Steve, did you want to ask a question? Yeah.
Thank you. Sorry. Thank you, Your Honor. Suggest everybody go down to the city of Alachua and take a look at their meeting room. I don't understand. I don't know what's down there. Do you need the offices in the back? Everybody has offices, the ones that are behind where you folks sit?
Mr. Mayor.
Yeah.
So that thing marked office in the middle is a safe that's not gonna be moved.
No, in the back, against the back.
Yeah,
Yeah, those are just a proposal. If the
yeah, there doesn't have to be offices there.
council would like this, that's where they would be. Otherwise, this could all be stored.
So the thing that says offices is safe
No,
in the middle?
right,
That one right there.
right there.
That's a safe.
and
That's the old safe.
What's it made of, metal?
Oh, yeah, it's an old safe.
So nobody can cut it up and take it out of there? What do you need to say?
Expensive.
Expensive.
Well, the metal, you know, see the price of metal today? It's Tim Murphy, every time he buys metal, it's up 10%.
This would cost more to take it out.
Well, what you're gaining now is you have two offices, from what I see, and I'm just asking you to think about it. I want to make sure I understand this. That are taking up almost a quarter of the building. Once that safe is gone, you can move the dais where you folks sit back close to the back room. Maybe have a couple of little places where you can sit and have an internet connection. Move the seating up, and then at the end, where Mr. Bannon was complaining on the way on the left, you could build 2 bathrooms where people walk in, so you're not walking past the city council every time you gotta use the bathroom. And put the bathrooms down there and have a separate entrance to the council chambers, is what Mr. Bannon said. That would seem to make perfect sense. The only problem is you're stuck with a piece of metal in there that nobody's even looked into removing, other than it's very expensive. But if you could move everything backwards, you would have a beautiful,
That's the historic vault. Would not be able.
I mean, it's historic.
It's a historic original vault. That one.
So that's what,
This is the newer vault that was put in by, the predecessor of the.
so if I get this right, I'm just so I understand. You bought a building with a vault, in the middle of it's supposed to be a meeting room that you can't use the rest of the meeting room because you got a steel safe in there that you can't move?
Mr. Mayor.
Is that, am I missing something?
So I don't think anybody, when they made the purchase, thought of this as being a meeting room. This is the first I've really heard of it. I don't know about, I think we're trying to use a building that came as part of a package.
Well,
So,
you know, it looks like I'm done. It looks like a good idea. I wouldn't let that steel stuff in there stop you. If that's the size, and nobody put dimensions on this, but at the bottom, like, be able to see. It's like quarter of an inch, 1 foot. I don't know what the dimension, you know.
No, I didn't measure the whole.
So, I mean, you know, it's kind of, you get a thing from an architect, that doesn't even have the dimensions of the building.
Like I said,
Well,
Right.
but everybody knows what the dimensions are, so he's not a preliminary architect.
Right.
But I would just ask you to consider moving that steel, and you could really make a nice meeting room and pay attention to what Mr. Bannon said. And you could have a safe place that would be easy to meet, that you could deal with acoustics, and would serve everybody. Thank you, that's all I have to say. You need to get dimensions.
Right. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I'm Sylvester Warren, 930, Northeast Show. Man, I'm like, Councilman Sampson. I'm like, I know we bought a lot of stuff and that was a part of it, but I never imagined that we would be trying to force something that fit. Now, if it's the wish of the council to entertain this idea, I'm good with that. But as I look at this building and we're trying to get a cost analysis to it, why at the same time can't we get a cost analysis to a new space built that would accommodate us rightly and construct it? Because we still, if I'm correct, we still have the property across the street of Marion that we got from the authority board, correct?
Right.
So there's ways around this, I think. I think we should at least do what you wish, but I think we should do a cost analysis on both ways. I think you should do a cost analysis on remodeling, which I'm not a fan of remodeling. I think you should do a cost on a new chamber.
Well, that's why I wanted to have this workshop today, so we could all look at the options. I don't think there's nothing we're finalized today, but
Because I don't think there's nothing wrong with an independent chamber.
I don't either.
Right, because, I mean, even the county, as much money as they claim they got, they don't even have a place to meet. They're borrowing somebody else's
Right.
venue. And so to have an independent venue from The rest of the city hall, I'm good with that. But I don't want to be walking through a maze and compromising security of public officials, and you know you got to snake your way through a building to get to the bathroom and all that. That's just it's a waste.
Thank you.
Oh, it's fine. I'm sorry. Oh,
Barbara Lovely, does the entrance have to be off Marion Street? Can it be in the back? And that way the bathroom would be there and just flip flop it, enter from the opposite end?
I didn't follow exactly what you was.
Okay. Right now you're entering from here. Why not enter from here? This could go here. And right now you said this is storage. This could be, you know, overflow with a monitor if there was a lot of people. That way nobody would be disturbed if they have to go back.
Well, I think there's a lot of questions. We gotta just look at the cost on all of it and see where we wanna go. Anybody else wanna talk about this part of it, or do you wanna move on to the next?
can we say that again?
Don't know. But anyway, Mr. Young, if you wanna move on and
Okay.
presentation.
Okay, this is the Millennium Bank building. This is the one up at Hillsborough and Alachua. Okay, on this one here, this is the main entrance coming into the lobby area. This is the teller area here. This door here is secured, this door here is secured from the bank when it was there. It's still gonna be secured doors. When you come in, customer service would have here and here. This would be, customer service coordinator and customer service. Okay. Then here would be growth management, entering into growth management. Doorway cut here to access this area and this office here. New wall built here and here. There's a one-way mirror here now that needs to be taken out, shelf put in. That would allow our counter, that would allow permitting to take place right here. You have enough room out here for a couple of seats for people waiting to either growth management or to get in to see Chancellor service. Coming on up, this new wall would be built here, along here and across here. There's a storefront here for this office that would be removed. That would become the conference room. This would be the city clerk's office, the deputy city clerk's office, and the records clerk office. We put this in case they wanted to close off part of it as a records storage for having stuff on hand in the office, but it's not necessary. The entrance here would be city clerk, city management only entrance. This door would be secured. Anybody coming in would have to tell us out here that they have an appointment back with city clerk or city management or city administration. We would then notify them, then they could be let in. The two existing bathrooms, the women's bathroom and the men's bathroom. The women's bathroom is a toilet in there. The men's bathroom does have one toilet and one urinal. This is the break room. This door here is a secure door. All of this area back in here is all customer service. This is the drive-in tellers here. This here would be, the customer service manager. And then all of this open space here would be for their, two ladies that do billing, do, whatever it is on their end, the shredding and like that. It's a big area. This is a vault here, a small vault that can be used for storage. This down here is the main vault. It is full of safety deposit boxes right now that we need to get removed and sell them on GovDeal. This would open this whole area up for storage. There's a couple of safes back here that customer service would be utilizing for their cash and their cash stores. This area right now, oops, did I get that?
Nope, I did, I'm sorry.
This area right now is where the customers would come in with the safety deposit box, all across here with a couple of doors for them to be able to access and be able to either safety deposit boxes and whatever. That wall would come down. This would now be the copy machine, fax. That would be their area there for that, for customer service. There's an upstairs. The upstairs runs about across here upstairs. This is the only way up and down, so it cannot be occupied. You can have temporary occupation, like it, all storage, a lot of storage up there now. IT needs a place built on the third floor, a room built for their equipment. Not an issue. But this is what we have for the Millennium Bank.
So the public would come in at the lower,
The public would all come in through the main entrance, double doors here.
but that's the only public entrances.
Alachua is here,
What I see as well?
and I'm trying to remember, I'm trying to think, I don't think that's Hillsborough.
Isn't there an entrance off of, what's that, Franklin? That's Franklin?
Right across the street from
From those
the
apartments?
library. Library is sitting right across the street.
That's the main entrance there, but isn't it on,
Well, there's one entrance off of here, but that would be the city clerk and city management, city administration.
That'd be,
The public would.
Right,
come in and out of there. They would have to come in through here and either get with, the administrative assistant here or tell one of the tellers. And they would be announced to whoever they're wanting to see, and then they would either come get them or. Now, the fallacy of this is we're gonna have to add a bathroom. We have no public bathroom. These are the only two bathrooms. These are all secured doors, so the public cannot get back to them. We will have to add a bathroom to the outside of the building, which would be the cheapest way here. Or we can buy one of the portable restrooms to set up there and utilize it for our business here. And it can also be pulled out for special events on weekends to be utilized, like a Lusty Festival or whatever. And then brought back and put back up.
Mr. Mayor, so that's similar to like how we have the bathrooms here over the drive.
So this is a covered walkway here. So we would only have to add a covering over to this area here. This is the sidewalk that's existing now. So right in here would be a canopy where people would walk out and they're not walking around.
and you ain't got final figures on this.
No, sir.
That's
That's
just,
just trying to see which way you want. to go.
exactly. I got you.
I can get it priced low blade with
Right.
permanent and with a portable.
Yeah, that's what I'd like to see. The advantages to both and there's cost factors. Anybody got any questions on?
Now, Dave, in the back of that big open area, there's cubicles there. Will those be staying there for use in the back? You mentioned have people working back there
Right
too.
back here.
I think there's a quad set of cubicles last
Yes,
time.
sir. There's, I believe it's six or seven.
Now there's no, so there's no, the only building inside here you're talking about is in that bottom.
Would be over in this area here.
How soon could we start utilizing the, customer service area?
Customer service could go in there right now and start utilizing it. No?
There's no connectivity in there.
Yeah.
As far as
Yeah.
the stuff, we're.
But all the IT would have to be installed.
Is IT, you guys working on this already?
We currently don't have anything. The process for IT would be, one, we would need drop codes, basically, on top of getting, in this case, Comcast to actually light up the building with internet. Because without that, we can put all the equipment in one work. So there's a couple of things that aren't exactly up to IT in terms of timeframe to be done, like, we would need to budget, get those lines run, which I know we talked about it already. But I don't know exactly where it's at, follow up on it, check on it. And then we need to get Comcast internet there, and then we need a root bill to actually secure all of our equipment. With, with security regulations and things that we need to follow, we do need a secured access room, which we currently do not have. That's the,
So the secured access room they're using there on the top, that wouldn't be big enough for what we need?
This one here,
The other one, that one. Right behind the secured door, the one that's where the server room is, sub-server is now.
That was a closet. Yeah, that was.
Well, the server's somewhere in that wall though, right?
here.
It's right there.
Yeah, that's where it is. And all it is a bifold door with one single rack in it with conduits coming up from the bottom and then running up. That's where they need to, take the conduit on up to the second floor and then round it around to where at the top of these stairs coming off the back here, it would be, I think it was a 12x6.
Yes, sir.
yeah, do we need separate storage from the rest of the, for the IT equipment? Be secured on its own, that has even more limited access. Would pretty much be the main employee do it. And then that would, from that room, spread out throughout the rest of the building to the customer service. Every other department employee in the building could be hooked up. It would be from that centralized room that we basically walled off. There's a place for it, but it wouldn't.
So this building, once the IT's in, is ready to be used even before any construction. But then you'll need to do the construction, that can be done afterwards.
Yes, sir.
Because I think,
If we can have customer service moved in, I don't think they would, because we can isolate this area off from the rest of them while the construction work's going on here.
yes, they remodeled all that before, just like what you're talking about, never closed that building. So
So
that's the secure door there. So I think you
this is
could,
secure.
and you're not building anything this way back. So I think that should be a priority because we need to get customer service back in place. So we can start taking payments where people know where it is, where it's downtown. And to me, that's a no-brainer to get that just done. I don't know. We own the building. We're paying a light bill. Comcast looked at that building before and AT&T in the past, so that shouldn't.
And I agree that was the purpose of buying that property in that building there, was to put customer service there. So I think we're all in agreement that needs to go ahead and move forward. As far as
The only work we have to do in the back here is for the customer service manager. There's a sliding door there, and she would like a swinging door. Yeah, it's a pocket door sliding.
Mr. Mayor.
I had something about the building, just the timeframe.
Could he
from an IT perspective.
Can he come to the podium? The people online can't hear probably.
Just to make it clear on timeframes from IT, we can work towards getting IT services and things set up in there, but one of the biggest drawbacks that we can't speed up is the delay in actually getting equipment. Like, for example, there's switches and things like that we need to get, and due to a global chip shortage that you tried to buy a car lately, and the cars are taking half a year to build, it's the same with chips.
Yeah.
We're looking at 2 to 3 months minimum on getting any of this equipment if we order it today. That could change based on when you order it, but it's probably not going to get any better in the foreseeable future. So just from a perspective of IT on what we have to wait on, we can order it when we get approval and when we have PO approved, but it's not going to change like I said, about 2 to 3 months currently, and that could change when we order. So I can't give you a specific time frame, but right now that's what it's currently looking. So at a minimum, from ordering date, expects to be safe, like I said, 2 to 3 months.
Mayor,
Yes.
as far as our offices are concerned, we went over and toured the space with Ms. Fields and Mr. Young. My staff and I went over. We can make the space work. When we came back, we did some brainstorming with myself and Joyce Brenner, which is the admin assistant for the city manager's office as well. She was not able to go with us that day. We would like to relocate that one wall that he has built there right in front of that conference room, just kind of flip it over, because we have 2 admins right there together, and put that one admin, just kind of flop it over and move that wall to wall off the city clerk's office. We're going to have staff walking past 3 of my staff members throughout the day going to the conference room, and that is going to be a huge disruption to the staff. Also, it doesn't give us any buffer to the public. That is one thing we ran into with COVID this last year, when we needed to deal with the public and public records requests. We had no mechanism to do so when we shut the bottom floor down. Dave was able to work out of an office and a window in his office. Customer service worked out of the front door. We had nowhere to work out of. So I would also maybe propose that we do some kind of window similar to what Anne Marie's going to have there at her desk as well, somewhere down that line, to give us that extra protection for when we have to deal with customers and public records. So we will have, a mechanism to also be able to deal with that as well. And I did briefly talk to Ms. Fields about that earlier today. She and I has not been able to get together on it, but I mentioned it briefly to her. And if you want me to take your little red clicker, Dave, I can show you the little line. Want the ball to go like down to here, and in the hall they can relocate that door maybe to here, and they can come into access the conference room. This will be open for Joyce. We can even encroach over into here if we can put that wall out a little further, because this is going to be Joyce and this is going to be my admin assistant. We just want to flip that and that. Does that make sense, Amy?
One thing,
And make sure that this right here is definitely an exit only. I was really concerned initially this was going to be open to the public, and I was really concerned about people walking in and just having direct access into the manager's area as well as these other areas as well. So that's what I.
Mr. Mayor, on that, one thing I do like having whoever the city manager admin is at this door, that back door there, where they're actually entering in, because then when someone goes through the door, there's someone to direct them a little bit. There's someone to say something. Otherwise, they're going to have to walk all the way up there. And I can tell you that is going to be distracting for everyone in those offices, especially because people are not going to know where to go. So it kind of makes sense that you would just flop that and put that desk down here. So when you come through that door, then there's someone there. I think that would make sense. I don't know there'd be much cost differential because you're just building that wall there instead of here. And then I do like the idea of having a window through that wall because of exactly what she said with COVID. We don't know where this is going or how long it'll be with us. there's an opportunity to serve people in a protected state, I would think that would make sense.
Well, we've had COVID, we've had the mold issue, we don't have much issues, while we're doing it, we need to do it to where we are able to service.
Yeah, so for me, what I would like to see is when you get the cost thing, just see about putting that wall there and that desk here. I mean, the desk part's gonna be easy. I think the wall that, yeah, that wall that goes up there, that one, just take that L there off
Yeah, we're just flipping it.
and then put it up from the door down.
I can draw you, I have one in my office, I've already drawn it for you.
I just drew it here from what she described, it might work. I think too, that'll be better for the conference room, for the entry of it. My one concern is I saw that office up there, is that where the manager's going?
City manager, well, proposed.
Oh, I know, and you could always change it.
And the,
There's assistant city manager.
put them any way you want.
So where would your assistant, says assistant city manager office?
Be right.
Okay.
We're proposing.
Those three offices are open for those three positions.
Anything
I
else?
think this would flow better than what we're doing now. I mean, I think this makes it more functional. This building's gonna be way more functional than the building we're in currently. And to me, the big decision to look into buying this whole thing was for this building.
Exactly.
And then everything else was a bonus, because, one thing, Dave, I know I mentioned it to you, and I don't know if anybody else did, but I'd like to see the city close those cross-through roads and make this one large parcel, because in addition to the old bank, the city also owns the whole block except for the theater. And I don't know if you have a picture of that. So if you go back to that map,
But right here, Alachua, we have the main trunk line. for AT&T. So I closed the street so we can build it.
well,
Yeah, but I.
Everything's negotiable.
This one, we were already looked at closing this one and closing this one, because on this side over here is a big parking.
huge. And if that street's shut, then it'd be easier
It
because
would be easy access from that parking lot. You've also got parking out here. You've got parking over here, and then across the street, you have, the parking going up to the old drive-in tellers.
have you counted those parking spaces?
No, sir, I didn't count them all. It all needs to be redone. But then we also own the lot that's on the north side of the theater, which is a fenced-in lot like that, which could be used as overflow.
I can see a lot of uses for that in the future. I think closing those two streets though would make sense, because then people aren't gonna be parking to go to City Hall and then worried about being run over.
Because, here's right on top of it, so you really can't see it. Here's the, parking lot. Thank you. Here's the,
Sorry.
here's the parking lot, here's Main Street. Here's the parking lot now, right here in this block. Here's the Millennium Bank. Okay, you've got parking across here on both sides. You've got, this is the drive-through here, and then you've got parking here. This parking here is probably gonna be for the employees, customer service. You've got the parking back on this side, which is going to be for, the admin, and the, city clerk's office. So the public parking would be here, or it's in this lot here. All the way back like this. And then this is the historic bank here, but we also own this lot right here, which is fenced in. There's a gate right here for entry, but it could easily be modified to where we could have overflow parking here, but put another gate in over here to make it a little more easier to get in and out.
And in addition, on the parking far to the left, right on Main, we own that where the trees are as well.
Yes, but That's also. Yeah, 'cause when we bought it, we bought this whole thing right here. Just like that, all package deal.
What's the plans for that old, what's the old drive through?
Well, the bank turned it into storage, and that's what we were gonna use it as, addition space. Need to drywall the walls, there's insulation there, we just drywall it where it looks nice. And the shelving's already in there, a lot of it, and all we use for storage.
Would that allow us to remove some of the storage we pay for separately by the month?
That would be up to
I mean, this is a
Well,
conditioned space.
The issue that I have with the storage, and I shared this with Dave, the storage in there, it's wood. And if it was to get wet in there, water goes up into wood. So that would be my only concern is all the shelving in there is wood. But we've talked about, it would nowhere near hold everything we have in storage, but it might. We talked about maybe moving all Dave's plans maybe in there possibly.
We
So-
can always put, cut the wood teeth off and put
Metal caps on them. We talked about that as well.
So you don't have the issue of, migrating water.
Inside the building, the two areas that he showed you that were the two vaults, we were going to utilize both of those vaults for our permanent records. But first, we do have to empty that one vault is like he said, filled with the safety deposit boxes. So before we could relocate any of our permanent records that are currently in our vault downstairs, that would have to be totally gutted. And we'll have to get our shelving put in there. And the room is taller in there, so I think we're gonna be okay. So I think we can go higher with our shelving that we currently have, but that is something that we definitely would have to relocate all those safety deposit boxes out of that, or we can't use.
90% of the metal file cabinets at the bank left for us are fireproof.
Yeah.
Concrete line.
So with the safety deposit boxes, can we go ahead and put those on Gov Deals and sell them? I mean, we're obviously not gonna run a safety deposit operation, so.
We got all the keys. The bank gave us keys to everything.
Yeah, someone on the Gov Deals will buy that. I don't know why we shouldn't hold on to them. I'd go ahead and get rid of anything you can get rid of. I mean, I don't know if we have to give authorization for that. I mean, it's,
Are we gonna wanna get them out ourselves, or are we gonna want, because that's gonna affect the cost of them. If they have to get them themselves, it's gonna be a lower bid. Or do we have the equipment to get him out? I don't know. I'd have to talk to, Public Works on that.
that needs to be solved because that needs to come out regardless, so.
Yeah.
We need
Is
to
that
get
considered a fixed asset, Donna? Would we have to declare them surplus and then get rid of them, or?
I didn't put them on.
Okay,
They're removable.
okay.
Some of those were just moved in there, I understand. Because they had sent a letter when they closed one of the other branches and moved some of them in there.
old vault at the old bank. We still got some, safety deposit boxes in those. But they're old ones.
Oh, yeah. Now going back to that building, the other piece is that prefab restroom. Is that what this other quote is? This is that?
Yeah, well, it's not for, it was, I think we were looking at that for the,
Procurement.
for procurement on the, looking to see which way we can go.
So I think when you price this, pricing out a prefab restroom there makes sense. And I think that's gonna be a cheaper way to go. I know one thing, when we were looking at the plans before, we did it all backwards. So we decided we had $4 million, I think, David, and then someone said, hey, what can you build for $4 million? In which case they couldn't build what we needed. If anybody ever looked at those plans, it obviously didn't make any sense. But here we just have a lot less money into it and have exactly what we need. And I think that's the crucial piece. As far as the old bank for or the historic bank for council chambers, I mean, I can just as easily see us using the school board. I mean, it holds what you need. I think the price was right on that to use it if they'll still let us use it. I think you get a cost analysis on this just to see what it would be. I guess we could find out if we could move that old vault. I don't know if that thing's moving. I think that building's built around it. But it doesn't hurt to have someone look at it to see what can be done.
Just as a workshop, so I think on the council building, the old building, that's still something up there. We're gonna have to look at cost and options and all that. On the bank that we're talking about now, I agree that we need to probably start moving forward with customer service and getting the IT and all that done. Is that kind of consensus with everybody? I think we kind of got the floor plan laid out too. So I guess that's kind of where we're at on this. Kind of redo these drawings to what we discussed tonight and move forward with that. So that'll take us to that building. So then we're to the girls club.
Girls Club. The two buildings at the Girls Club. As you know, the east building is IT. That's there. The west building is where we're looking at modifications so we can get HR and then also get procurement, or I'm sorry, finance into this area. Down here would be the finance manager, HR manager, the HR specialist. The desk that's sitting there now can be utilized as the space for Calvin, the administrative assistant. We would also construct in a conference room and a storage room. But they do need a conference room for talking with people and private. Also a storage room. Finance, we're looking at the finance director here, and this would be a finance office here. This would be a finance office, finance office, finance office. And then this one would either be another finance office or a conference room. It could also be where the auditors would come and have a place to sit. Up here, it's two separate storerooms, one for finance. Both of them are for finance, just different areas of finance. It's separate. Keep them separate. The kitchen would remain the same. The mechanical room, well, it's not a mechanical room, the water heater, washer and dryer right now. All kinds of coloring. The restrooms, this would be the women's restroom here. There's one restroom in each of the buildings. This would be the women's restroom. Over here would be the men's restroom. We would have to construct a wall and put a door in to allow access for the men over in HR and finance to be able to come across to use the men's restroom here. It's still secured with the doors, so IT still has their security. Otherwise, everybody who walks out here over here uses that.
What if it rains?
This is a covered walkway right here between them now.
Mr. Mayor. So the same thing, so those offices in the middle, those are proposed to be constructed.
Yes, these would be constructed, these offices or rooms would be constructed, and these two rooms would be constructed. They would run from floor to ceiling.
Okay, so thinking outside the box a little bit, the old bank here has really nice cubicles that have the glass thing on top. I think, do they have doors? I can't remember. But could they be utilized here to save construction cost? Now, you need private areas, I understand that, but if there's a way to minimize cost on this and use something we already own, I would be all for that if it makes sense. And to me, I think we should measure those, see how tall they are. You know, it's hard to tell the scope with that building when you go in and it's got the 20-foot ceiling, so I know it's pretty tall, I just don't know how tall.
They're 6 foot.
They're 6 foot tall
Right.
to the glass or to including the glass?
To the very top edge.
How many are there, do you know?
I believe it's 5.
5 sets?
Yeah. 5 individual ones are, they're all tied together. But there's 5, there might be 6.
Well, I think it's an option we should look at, just depending, because, you know, when you start building walls and things, it's gonna get more and more expensive. But the other thing is we're gonna need electrical outlets and we're gonna need all that stuff. I'm not sure if it's not something we should at least look at and say, is this feasible? Could we do this? Would it make sense?
The reason I was going with walls is because we could come out of the ceiling with all of our drops, electrical, IT, everything coming out of the ceiling down into the wall.
And this building has a drop ceiling in it, doesn't it?
Yes.
So we could do that into a cubicle as well.
You could put a post up in the corner and then come down inside the cubicle.
And I'm not saying that's definitely the way to go. I mean, it's just a recommendation to look at, when you're looking at the expense on this, it could be a cost savings.
Mr. Sampson, can I say something? I do agree with the cost saving, but when it comes to finance, the reason why we chose the walls is because they have to have peace and quiet. They do work with numbers all day. So it may be a distraction at some point for them. That's my only concern with the walls versus the cubicles. Unless we can do something different, I don't know.
We could get them some noise canceling earphones. I just think we should look at every place we can save money, because, I mean, we're getting to the point, looking at these plans,
Right.
where we're gonna run up against how much do we have to spend? And that's a crucial thing. I mean, we're obviously looking to save the taxpayer money in this move, but at the same time, we gotta make sure it's functional. So, and that's questions I'm sure better for Donna and department heads. What can they do and what can they use? And at the same time, keep in mind, everywhere we can save a little bit of money.
That's what I.
Because a wall can always be built later. A wall can always be added. Taking them down is a little bit more difficult.
And getting back to where I was about the other building, where that's kind of where we're at, I think this one pretty well said, except what we're talking about now is technicality, but as far as what's going in there and what we're doing, I think we're pretty much, so we can start getting some cost estimates on that.
Is there already IT here in this building?
There's lines run to that building. And with the amount of offices that's gonna be in there, it'd be a lot easier to stop versus, you know, all the stuff like in the bank. This one's already pretty much a lot further along.
So we need to get an estimate on the cost on this one, because this one can move quicker. But I think the idea is this building here, we need to figure out what we're gonna do with it.
Like get the cost estimate with the walls and with that.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Unless I missed something when I walked out, and I apologize if I did. I know that I sat through a very long budget meeting in which we weren't able to participate verbally, but hearing wise, I heard that we're gonna have a grant writer that we budgeted for. Is her office gonna be somewhere, he or her office gonna be somewhere included in any of this? Because I didn't hear where he or she's going.
In the,
The city gonna be the bank.
yeah, next to the city manager's office.
That's where the grant writer's gonna go.
Over here.
Okay.
Yes.
What was the square footage of both buildings
On both of these, I don't have the total.
or on the venue?
On this, site plan, David, the site plan says that okay, there's a number, I can't read it. It says gross building area.
Where we at?
782 on
Oh,
the
yeah.
site.
Now, that's only the usable area, is that correct, David? That doesn't include the storage.
Yes, that's true.
So I don't see it on any of the other drawings, but
Oh,
you might see it better on the screen if you click over to it. It doesn't, yeah, it doesn't show it on the.
Well, I got the square footage in each of the offices, like, I don't have the overall. We're just showing what size.
Go up.
Where's my sketches?
It's on the other, another one.
Oh, that, you can't quite see it on there.
Okay, these are just my sketches that I did, and that's where I was coming up with, making sure I had 4-foot walkways and, the size of the offices would be 12'6" by 12. You get 4 of them in there, 4-inch or 4-foot walkway here because of the egress here. And then these offices were 14 by, I believe it was 11, both of the conference room story. I did not get the existing room. I only did what was being added. I didn't do the overall. That's information I can provide.
The kitchen, is there any way you put the kitchen out and possibly make those restrooms? I'm just asking. I mean, is there really a need for the kitchen?
Well, what I was looking at was, we need a break room. It doesn't have to be that big. You're just leaving it the way it was, and let it be a break. They're not gonna be doing cooking meals and like that. Table set here, there's a refrigerator, a sink, a stove. What all's in there?
Okay, so the square footage, if you go back to the Girls Club buildings, according to the property appraiser site, the smaller one's 3,980 square feet. That's the one IT's in. The other one's 4,560 square foot. So I think, was that one of the questions? Yeah, and so if you look at the square footage at the bank on Hillsborough and these two buildings, how does it compare to this building? How many square foot's in this building, you know?
If you look at the square footage, like what, finance has right now, this is, gonna be probably right about the same on square footage. And same thing on HR. I mean, I think HR would be a little bit.
Now, Dave, I noticed on their site, they say that it's only 3,000 and 4,000, so there's some non-heated and cooled areas somewhere in the storage, but within the building, so I don't know where that is, but.
This is all, what they're talking about is like the canopy going between and the porta cochere out here. That's non-heated and non-cooled. The rest of it's all heated and cooled in both buildings, all of the interiors. Now, we do have a canopy, I believe, out on this side too. And a big canopy on the front. This is again where they were come in and drop kids off when it was Girls Club. and this was the main entry going in. So you've got this space here, this space, there's a canopy here, and this space here that is your unconditioned space on the property appraiser. All the rest of it would be conditioned.
Yeah, so the condition space is 3,000 and 4,000, so that's 7,000.
So I think we're pretty well set on those two, but getting some estimates and all that. Now, you gave us this, or we got this budgetary quote. Is that for procurement?
Yes, for procurement.
Yes.
And
That's the office trailer.
Right.
Yeah.
The module.
The modules will go out at, public works area. It's a warehouse there.
Mr. Mayor?
Yeah.
On this, I'd like to see an option to remodel the current building, to put this inside of it also, in addition to this separate because.
I was just fixing to say, I don't have any drawings on it, it could be laid on that. But there is enough room, there was the gas department. Correct? There it comes from. Yeah, that's, we're talking about the main building.
the purchase price is just bought it.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. That's what it
And I think
says.
they had, there was 3 separate offices, and I think 2 were transformed into like a conference room, or meeting room, that could easily be brought back with a wall being put back and making it 3 offices.
And again, we have more cubicles too.
And there's a door that leads out, and right there, you're within 100 feet of the warehouse.
I think there was cubicles in that before at some point, right, Steve? Yeah, there was cubicles. So we own cubicles.
Yeah.
So that net cost could be really inexpensive to do. And I think they're ready for hookups for IT out there. So that could be done like this week. I mean, that's up to you guys, but
You're saying just don't do this, but just remodel what's there.
well, not even remodel it. There was offices before that the gas department used to use before they moved that they made into a big conference room by taking the cubicles down. So I think what we do is just put the cubicles up. They need, according to this drawing, looks like they need at least 3 spaces. So you just put that up and you're good to go.
We need space for a file room as well, walk-in file room, conference room.
Can you come up here? I can't quite hear.
We need to be able to have a pre-bid room, which was the conference room. Also, we were going to keep the files in there as well, lockable file cabinets, and 3 offices and an entrance area. So, yeah, it's cubicles are fine, but, you know, there are times that we do have to be private as well, and cubicles don't allow that.
So I think I'd like to see an option to use the space we have without buying another space, just to see, compare it and see what we have.
It doesn't bother me at all. What bothers me is being able to have separate offices.
Let's get a price on that.
But you said the cubicles were acceptable, they just need to be separate and then have one private
We
space.
need to have a private space where we can go into and discuss whatever needs to be discussed privately.
Yeah, and there could be some place there that there could be a private area that's already maybe able to be used as a conference room or whatnot. I can't remember completely out there, but I'm for looking into it to see what we can do to, as inexpensively as possible on all of the items, not just this item, but all the items.
But we also have to look at the shape of the building. too,
Functionality.
Whether it's still in shape.
Stay with that.
Go out and make an assessment.
That would be great.
So with that, we pretty well covered 4 places, I guess.
Mayor.
Yeah.
Can I just do a quick recap to make sure that we've captured what we need to
But
capture?
that's what I want to do is summarize now.
Yeah, okay. Would you like me to do that for you?
Absolutely.
Okay. For the council chambers, for the historic bank building, the main takeaway on that is we need a cost analysis on new versus a remodel to bring back.
Right.
On the Millennium Bank building on Hillsborough and Alachua, we need to price out a prefab restroom versus a permanent. We need to redraw the plans and get cost analysis for the remodeling. We need to move forward with customer service and IT's needs to get that staff in the building. We also need to go ahead and move forward with selling the safety deposit boxes to clean out the vault. On the Girls Club building, we need to obtain a cost estimate on the cost to construct with the walls and without the walls, utilizing the existing cubicles. And for the procurement out of Public Works, we need to look at options to remodel the current building versus the modular prefab building. And also look at possibly utilizing the existing cubicles that we may already have.
Summarize it.
So
Did I miss
one,
anything?
I'm not sure if we missed anything, but as far as like the council chambers, I don't know about anyone else, but I can tell you, for me, I'm not gonna be for building anything. We're not gonna have funds. I mean, if you look at it, if we can't use that building, that's fine. There's other options that'll be cheaper. I mean, we could always talk to the school board about utilizing that office, and I think that's something we should go ahead and discuss with them. But I mean, if you want to get a cost on a building, that's one thing. I don't know what it would cost us to do. I'm not sure. We kind of need to know what funds we have available still.
Well, that and instead of, I agree with you as far as do all these others, and if we're not going to use that building, maybe go to the school board, but know what a new building will cost, and maybe figure out how to do that down the road. You know, not do it now, but at least know what we're shooting for.
And perhaps too, we talked about the grant writer, which is a crucial spot. If that building's National Historic Register, which at one time it was, I cannot tell you now, I don't know if David Young knows or not, is it? So there could be federal dollars available for remodeling that building. So now you start ripping stuff out of it like the vault, I don't know if that would affect it because that's part of the initial structure, but there could be other funds for that building as well. And one other thing we didn't talk about yet. So the city also has deeded property catty corner across the street from the hospital authority. And I believe according to what I read in that deed, there's, or in the agreement, we need to use that for some public use. I would like to see a cost estimate on that as far as like for parking. You have something you want to say, Mr. Mayor?
Maybe able to help you on that?
Yes.
I want to chair. Thank you. I don't think you have to worry about that property anymore. The governor hasn't appointed anybody to the authority. Doesn't look like that's going to happen. So I think for now, you could probably consider that property as yours until further notice. So you don't have to really discuss that unless you feel an urge. Thank you.
I think it'd be good to have some kind of future use for it.
Right, and we may give back some of it if we decide not to, and use some for parking. But part, it definitely be part of the plan. Anything else about the council?
Couple more things. One, this building. So the mold issue, has it been mitigated? Do we have any estimates to the cost to mitigate it? Can you come back up here to the podium so people online can hear?
I believe the price estimate came in for the first floor at $30,000.
That's just to mitigate the mold that's in there now.
The first floor.
The first floor only. 34,000. So the cost just to mitigate that's 34,000. How fast is it growing?
I don't know, I haven't been in there.
Well, that's probably a wise thing. I don't think you want to be traveling in there. So one of the things we need to figure out too is what are we gonna do to disposition this building? Is this building gonna be, are we gonna maintain the property for the parking and tear down this building? Are we going to try and sell this building? We need to be thinking about those things as well. So simultaneous to moving, maybe we can have some kind of plan on what to do here.
Right.
I'd like to see the parking stay, even if we decide to sell the building, we could sell possibly the building and the spaces that touch it and perhaps keep the parking. Because you can never have too much parking downtown.
Right. I'd like to get some proposals on it. Somebody may want to renovate it, do something with it. At least we could get it off.
We do have some interest, the owners of the Blanche have expressed interest so far.
But it won't be like the deal they got across the street.
No.
Yeah.
Mr.
I'm sorry, I had one question. Dave, on the mold downstairs, the vault, did they determine that the permanent records in the vault have to be remediated, or are those
According
off.
to the report, there is no mold inside the vault.
So I'm good to
So
relocate those
you're
records?
good. Now, whether they have included this in their cost to HIPAA clean, because all the paperwork has to be HIPAA clean area before it can be moved out. So, my time's up.
Sorry.
So I'll have to find out.
Okay, I don't have any paper left in our 3 offices downstairs. We relocated those records when we did the move to the 2nd floor. But just my concern was when we go to relocate the vault, if everything in the vault has to be mitigated or not, because we have some very, very old documents in there, and that, yeah,
This is going to be a question we'll have to ask
Okay.
mitigation come.
thank you. Thank you, ma'am.
I have one more thing. I don't know if anybody else has anything on the city hall, but I want to make another mention.
Go ahead.
Okay, so Friday I got a call with a communication that we kept Columbia Youth Football from playing at Memorial Field Saturday. I want to know who at the city authorized closing down the games, if anyone. And David, did you talk to them directly and tell them they could not play on the field at all? Could you answer that for me?
What I told them is that the stadium was closed. That the use of the field, I was not sure about. That I couldn't really give an answer on that. But that the stadium itself was closed, including the press box, all of it.
Well, and so I know Friday there was some action that put a fence up there around that building. So I was concerned because of the communication. That's a big decision. I think definitely we need to have input from the council on things like that, but I would like a little bit more clarity on what happened as far as the communication. I know Amy and I talked about this already. We can't let things like that happen. It's horrible. The city must make sure the field's ready for use when the children need it. When I received that call late Friday, I immediately went over to the field. The field itself is in great shape. It was striped, ready to play, yard line markers out. City staff was there installing fencing. Amy acted quick to get them out there to keep the old bleachers off limits until the structural engineering reports are back, to see if it is in fact safe at this time to use as is. I believe you met today with the structural engineer over there.
Yes.
And did they give you a time frame for that report to be back?
They told me, the engineer said to me that he could see, at first glance, could see no reason why anybody would say that stadium was structurally unsound. He said he did not see it. But he advised against using the stadium until a full analysis is done, which he is going to present the proposal to us. He's hoping to get it to us by Friday as to the analysis and the cost.
Yeah, I think one of the things that concerns me is if the bleachers are not able to be used, the field can still be used. We need to see, and I've asked for several things on the next agenda. I already forwarded that to Amy and copied Audrey on it. The city could do some things there to mitigate some of the issues. We could add bleachers to the west side over there so that we could have places for people to sit. There's 2 small sets were there. I believe they took those today to another location. I can tell you, I've not been in that stadium for many years. When I went out there Friday, the bathrooms are deplorable. We got to do better as a city. We can't abandon our children, and we must do what is needed to fix this stadium. It's got to be an asset to the city. If we're not going to fix it and we're going to leave it as an eyesore, then we need to figure something else out. On the meeting on September 20th, I've asked for a full plan and cost analysis to install a permanent modular bathroom unit on the other side, on the west side. In addition, the cost estimate on the bleachers, which I discussed earlier. We no longer as a city have a recreation department. If we don't want to be in the recreation business, perhaps now's the time we go back to the county and talk to them. We're reaching out and building a relationship with them. They have a recreation department. Maybe we can take the items we still have sitting out there under recreation and work with them and say, would you like these in your recreation department, and you have the expense to take care of them? I don't see us spending and getting back in the recreation business and spending that money. 1, we don't have it, and 2, I don't think it makes sense. But as far as the stadium, if we're going to maintain it and keep it, it needs to be prepared to play. In the meantime, youth football can be played at Memorial. I talked to the CYFA president Friday. I told him I would help him in any way I can. I pledged him that I would personally, out of pocket, make sure that there's porta potties there if they decide to play at Memorial. In addition, any bathrooms needed going forward wouldn't be an issue until we have permanent ones in place. If CYFA chooses to play there at Memorial Stadium, or if they choose to go another direction, I'd support whatever they want to do. But the city can't allow that eyesore to continue. It's not acceptable. I'm with Dave with what the engineer said. The stadium structurally, who knows? Who knows? To me, it looks pretty solid with the way the I-beams are built, but I'm not an engineer. So I think getting the engineer out there makes sense. I think the real ball being dropped was we probably should have started this months ago, knowing that football season starts at a certain time and we fund it a certain time every year. Perhaps that's what we should do. But my main concern is getting to the bottom of the communication between the city and CYFA. They got everything stirred up to say, they're not able to play. And so from what I hear from you, David, is you alluded to something, but are you saying you didn't say they could not play?
Probably the way I phrased it was that it could not be played on.
That kind of communication has to be clear. We got to be not parsing words, because when we get out there on that, it looks like to me from the outside looking in, we're at the last minute throwing them out on the side saying, you definitely can't use this. And I don't think that's your intent or what you're saying right now. So to me, we need to be clear about that in that communication. Now, I think going forward, we got to make sure that this is the communication. The field will be ready. If they want to use it, it'll be able to be used. And that's what I would recommend as a council we do. And the other thing is, again, I would go ahead and reach out to the county. You're already talking to them, I think, about different things we could work on together. This will be something to say, hey, you guys have a recreation department. Whatever we have recreationally, if they want to do it, it would save us money in the long run. I would be all for that as a savings to the taxpayers of the city.
Did you say the report would be ready by Friday?
He is trying to get me a letter either today or first thing in the morning. The engineer is trying to get a letter to me today or first thing in the morning that states he, in his opinion, that there is no catastrophic failure of the stadium imminent, but that it does need to be left unused until a full structural analysis has been performed.
Mr. Mayor, so I have another question. So he's going to write a letter saying that, well, we won't know until we get the letter. I don't want to put any words in the mouth of the engineer, because if it's unsafe, it's unsafe, and we need to leave it marked off. But that doesn't mean the field's unsafe. A field's a field, and the field looked beautiful Friday when I looked at it. So what we've got to do is make sure we're doing everything we can to make events happen, not stop events. So we'll get to the bottom of the whole scenario of how it went down, and then from there we can address it more fully. That's right. I asked for it to be on the agenda at the Monday meeting.
Good. All right.
Go Go ahead.
Mayor, on behalf of David, when David went out because I asked him to go out because I had been receiving, calls from concerned parents of the children from the, that played with the association regarding the seating. They had issues and concerns about the seating, so I sent David out. Although it was a last minute, so were the concerns. They were at a last minute because the game was coming up. But please know that the field was striped on Thursday by Public Works. We had already set aside overtime for the entire season for the department, so we were ready and prepared. However, we did get a lot of expressed concerns from the actual parents, females of the children that were going to play for the weekend.
Well, I had spoke with Ms. Fields again on Thursday about the field. And from speaking with her, she advised me that the insurance company, city insurance, advised us that if anything happened, we will be liable. So Friday, I heard a conversation with Corey saying that he had put up a fence to block off those bleachers. But at no time was it said that the games would not be played. And all day Saturday, I was riding through there hoping to see a football game, but it never happened. So I don't know how the ball or who said that the city wasn't going to allow them to play out there Saturday.
Anything else? Not, we will be adjourned till Monday night, and I think we made a lot of progress tonight. It was a good meeting. I think we got a lot of discussion needed to be done.